Welcome back to Stay Tuned. I'm Tony Angelo, and today we are bringing back one of the all-time greats, the CikeClone. Let's get it. All right, so the first engine we ran was just a regular stock, early 1992 style 4.3 with the balance shaft, slapped a turbo on it, and it was jamming, and then we blew it up. Then we moved to this engine because I melted one of these pistons. This is the same, I think it's like a 1993 4.3. We ran this sucker with the old style heads, even though they say Vortec on them, they weren't. Put a camshaft in it, ran it, was awesome, blew it up, swapped on the Vortec heads, honed the cylinders, put in a set of real rings, and then it was running really good, and then we blew it up. We're gonna tear into this thing and see how bad it is. We've got another more modern Junkyard 4.3 that's an actual Vortec motor. My buddy Chris Forrest dropped off for us, fully unknown. Who knows if it's any good? It's probably fine. But what I want to do now is tear into the sort of the hero motor we've got and see just how bad it is. Because I'll tell you what, when you hit the starter, it did not sound great when it blew up.
It might not be there.
So let's go. Get it on a stand. The first thing we're going to do is take the maybe good, more modern 4.3 off, stone drag this thing out of the back shop on a sled like a linebacker trying to make varsity. Very impressive. We're going to just toss it out of the way for now. The real focus is this thing. How bad is it? Can we save it? And how much of a pain in the butt is it going to be? So this is going over into a tire. That's going to go up on a stand and just get dissected. The real bummer of this whole thing is that right before it died, it was faster than ever. Holy yeah. So if we can just get it back to that spec and keep it alive, this thing's going to be a freight train. All right, hit it. Put her up. Stone's heading out on his honeymoon soon, so he's got to get some work done before he leaves.
Yeah.
You've been married a year, right? A little over?
Nah, like 3 months. I got married in April.
3 months. And you've been waiting that long. That's so awesome. So if you have any questions about the first honeymoon night, you let me know.
Oh, I appreciate it. Every little bit counts.
That's a good attitude to have. My brain knows that this carb spacer, this aluminum carb spacer, is not doing any of the lifting, but it feels pretty sketchy for no reason. Here we go. Let's get it off
I think it looks awesome.
Off the hoist as quick as we can. All right, sweet. We need to get ourselves some engine mount bolts. Let me show you to one of the major shop upgrades. We just started working with boltsandnuts.com, and they came over and outfitted the shop with this insane rack of flange bolts, socket head cap screws, you know, Allen bolts. Just anything our little grubby hearts could desire is now right at our fingertips. So boltsandnuts.com, and the greatest part of it all is I can take my phone, bloop it on this QR code, and it takes me right to the website to reorder that specific bolt. So we'll keep it filled. All right, so the story on this engine is I reconfigured this distributor to retard timing under boost, and when we put it back together, the boost line that was on there was too big. It slipped off, so we ran 17 or 18 pounds of boost through this thing at 32 degrees of timing. And I don't know if we knocked all the rings off the pistons or scorched all the pistons, but there's no compression, and we're going to dig into it now, tear it all apart, and see what we're looking at. Anyone want to take any guess? You want to take some guesses at home? Let me know. I think we frazzled, sizzled up the rings, and there's no compression left. All right, intake manifold just came off. 5 out of 6 runners look good. This one is pretty shiny. Uh-oh. It's either been to the beach, picked up a lot of sand, or there's some metal being regurgitated into this thing. We'll find out in a minute. So pulling the valve cover is going to give you a good indication what's going on. You can look for bent push rods or flattened cam lobes. None of that looks like it's happened here. So that's all good. Yank the other side off. No smoking gun yet. The sand isn't a good look, whatever that is. On the driver's side, we do see a mangled, maybe just backed off adjuster. I don't know why that would be. It's not a great look. We wanted to get longer studs for these, but nobody makes them. there's very little as far as valve chain components you can get. If you see here, once they are adjusted, they are just barely catching the lock on the lock nut, and that's what keeps them from backing off. I've seen worse. Let's keep digging. Let's keep digging. Oh, you got to, the center's not open, buddy.
Oh, there it is.
No, stick your finger in there and twist that. That'll do, or that gets you
It was
there.
up.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why it was draining so slow. That was scaring me.
Anything shiny in there?
No.
We panning for gold? You do have kind of like an old prospector beard. Kind of feels like if you did find a bunch of gold, you'd get out of here
Yeah,
and
even on the drain plug.
buy some sarsaparilla with it or something.
Panhandling. We're gonna find gold medal.
Right? That's what would happen. You'd be like, I'm out of here.
That's why I'm going to Yellowstone.
I'm gonna go see me a moving pictures. The oil looks fine. There is, I don't know how clean this pan was, but there's definitely some metal in it. If you look there, see the dust?
A little.
It's a nice fine dust.
Sure do.
We're getting down to the bottom. You can look at the,
A little bit of glitter in there.
a little bit.
Well, fine.
Taking a quick break, show you how you can support Stay Tuned if you want and look super fly doing it. We have a ton of our merch back in stock. We brought back the Stay Tuned Down and Dirty East Coast Speed white pocket tee. That thing is flying already out of the shop. We're gonna lose the shop, our classic joke that we all crack all the time, and our pizza team with a Racing Problem shirt, plus proper Stay Tuned hats, trucker style Richardson's. They're killer. There is a link in the description where you can click the link up here. We appreciate you, and now let's get back to jibber jabbering. All right, so we're gonna try to reuse these head gaskets. Again, getting stuff for the 4.3 is pretty tough. I think it took us a while to get these. So you're supposed to put them in, it's a multi-layer metal gasket. Generally you put them in dry, and I believe they're reusable technically, but, wow, that's pretty exciting. We do see that like the coating on it has been peeled off a little bit. I might hit it with a little copper spray. Don't tell anybody.
Who's they?
Who's the, oh, they. That's big head gasket. You got to watch out. They're a Shadow Corporation. They could be listening. We're going to clean these head studs out for sure. I got a little assembly grease, maybe some metal on them. I dropped a bunch of them into this bucket of pretzel salt by accident, so we'll do that. You know, you got to keep a good pretzel rod supply going in your shop.
That's important.
For sure.
Feel bad for the poor guy who bites into one of those thinking it's a pretzel rod. It'll probably be me.
Here we go. Here we go. Yeah, that is intense detonation. Right there, boy. Yep. That is bad news bears. Yep. The
Stop peeing on me.
metal in here is coming from the valves? Oh, there. Yeah, see, it's missing a whole bunch of the piston here. That's where it is. See right there, where I can see the piston ring, this open air concept we got going on with the piston. It's not good, right? Right there. There should be piston here and not piston ring. Passenger side is all apart. This doesn't look as bad. For some reason, all these little bits of metal, we're gonna pull all the pistons and rods out, but I think what we're seeing here is just bits of that number one piston somehow made its way back up into the intake, wound up getting whacked all around. But the bores look just as good as they did. You know, I just honed this like 10 miles ago. You can still see the crosshatch, it still looks solid. I think we gotta figure out that one cylinder. Even that hone looks pretty good. So we'll pull it all apart a little bit more and see what's what. And then since this is a turbo motor and bits of piston were flying, we're gonna see if any of them went out the exhaust valve and wound up smacking the turbine wheel, thereby just annihilating that turbo, which happens sometimes. But so far, I don't know, not so bad. We know it got super hot, and we know it lost a bunch of compression, but I was expecting to see more damage. The one cylinder is brutalized, but the rest look pretty good. 5 out of 6 ain't bad. All right, it's lunchtime. Stone just picked up some good stuff. As you know, stay tuned out here in Pennsylvania. We are a pizza team with a racing problem. Those are beautiful. Everybody yells at me for touching the pizza. I touched that one, I'm gonna eat it. Everybody back off. If you wanna support the channel, you can buy us a pizza. People have asked. There's a link up there. You can slide us a pie. That would be super cool. You absolutely don't have to. Just watch everything, like, maybe share it with your friends. Also fantastic. We appreciate every single person watching these videos. This has been awesome. I'm gonna chow down, and then we're gonna get back to S10 business. Let's go. Let's go. I'm taking this one. Listen, same one. You hear that? You hear the pull? That's good. That's good pizza. Wrapped up. Today's pizza was brought to you by Josh Schaefer. Thank you, Josh, aka Drunken Chewbacca. Appreciate you. I was eating a salad. We paid for the salad. He paid for the pizza. I don't want to put that on you because that's no fun. Let's build some S10s. So Barb just asked, where are we trying to go with this thing? So the idea is we think this setup is good for a 3-second 0 to 60, which is scorching fast no matter who you are and what kind of bars you drink at. Like, that's fast. We just never got it dialed exactly right. So we're gonna go back with the same exact setup. I'm gonna just maybe pull a piston out of one of the other motors. I'll put a fresh set of rings in this thing. We'll put it back together and see what it can do. I'm trying to spend no money and go wicked fast. It's kind of our thing. Yeah, this is gonna cost us a grand total of $155 for a new set of rings. I guess we're reusing head gaskets, intake, that's it. Junkyard, pistons, we'll be fine. Yeah. We're gonna spend more on pizza.
Get your fingers all in there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not bad. Too bad.
It's a story of not bad.
All right. It didn't knock. It just ate up a piston. This feels. That's just side to side. Yeah. We're gonna look at the bearings, but it feels pretty good. We don't have any, so a used bearing of one way is gonna go back in one way or another. This is gonna be a real down and dirty one. So yeah, that's the problem area, they call it. Right there while the piston's going. Yeah.
I think we need to think positive. The piston just went back to school.
So you want to take brake clean. It's really hard to see when there's oil on the cylinders. Kind of shape of everything. So I'm going to just kind of hose it down and see if I can get a look-see.
Looks pretty.
That is good enough
Sendable.
for the pizzas we date. Sweet. All right, so we know number one, smoking gun, the piston crown over here broke apart and these pieces went flying all through the motor. What I don't exactly understand is if this was detonation, it would first close these gaps and pinch these rings, but this ring, I was just able to take it out very easily. It still moves fine in there. And also it would burn around the crown here. This is just broken. It's unusual to me. I don't know what happened. Maybe it got super hot and got a stress crack in it, but it is gone and it's a problem. We also know it didn't really have any compression spinning it around. And I'm seeing here pieces of piston on both heads holding open the exhaust valves if you come in real tight. Or I can see the light right through this. I can see my hand. So Barb's gonna tear these all apart. This was obviously the cylinder that had the most damage. This is where the piston broke. And we're gonna see if we can actually save both of these heads. We've got some alternatives over there, but we're gonna start there. Tear it apart, Barb.
So I tore these 2 cylinder heads down, pulled all the valve springs out, pulled all the valves out. We came across, basically all of them have some aluminum impregnated in the valve themselves.
That's called a high-speed injection.
Yeah. Ooh, how many RPMs do you think that injected at?
Yeah.
So we went over to this motor to check and see if the cylinder heads on this thing were in any better condition. We took a look at this guy here. It turns out there's 2 different castings of the Vortex cylinder heads. This later casting from a 2000-ish, right? 98, 2000, somewhere around there, has Fulcrum rockers, roller Fulcrum rockers on a rocker shaft, similar to like an LS style. Different stud size, so these are not gonna work to rob the heads off, use our valve springs, rocker setup, everything else. So I'm gonna try and make those work. We're gonna try and clean them up and see if we can get all that metal out of the valves, maybe?
Yeah, and the valve seats.
And the valve seats. So we'll lap them up, we'll get the drill out, we'll get the lapping compound out, and, you know, say a Hail Mary here. Send it on its way.
Yeah, none of the stores are open at this point, so...
It's dark, it's late. All right, so I have the first head that I started in the parts washer right now. I was feeling pretty sad that this wasn't gonna work, but to be honest, it worked killer. I put some lapping compound on the valves and stuck them right in and spun them with the drill, which is what everybody says not to do, but we're gonna do it anyways. And it worked mint. They all sit in there super nice. This is a send it situation, so we're sending it right now. So that one worked. This is the worst head. I cleaned out the chamber here with a wire wheel on the drill, and the one valve that was in here, the one that got hammered by the piston chunks, when I put it in and spun it around, it's very bent. So we had a little freak out moment, realized we had a bunch of other valves from one of the other cylinder heads.
Barb, are those the same valves?
They're not the same valves. They're very close
That's right.
valves.
Close enough.
But you know what? If you put it in the hole here and you press it all the way in, it seats and it's not bent.
Yeah.
We're gonna send it. So I'm gonna clean this one up, get them both in the parts washer, clean all the parts, assemble the heads, and then tackle the next moment.
All right, I wrapped up notes on, and I've joined Barb back in the shop. We are rocking and rolling here, helping pull the rest of these piston rings off of these pistons. There is a sizable gap behind the oil control ring. It's just like a nice little window that you usually don't see on a serious piston. It's a little bit disconcerting. That little guy right there. I wouldn't call this like confidence inspiring. There's about 30% or 40% of the metal not connected. Don't love that. Doesn't matter. It's made power before. It's going to do it again. This one is, well, it's not going to do it again. I'm going to go over to one of our spare, mostly junk motors and try to pull one good piston and rod combo out. And then I think we'll start, we do have a new set of rings. Start fitting those suckers in, continue to clean the block out. Barb did a killer job with the heads. I'm very excited about that. And you know, it's about midnight and we're gonna keep on chugging. All right, so I don't really remember which Junkyard 4.3 this started out as. This might have been the one out of the Astro van originally.
I think it's V1, dude.
V1, what? Oh, there she goes. All right. I recall we burnt one of these pistons, but it doesn't look like any of these. So let's set her free. Pick your favorite one. That one looks pretty nice.
Sure.
The closest. All right.
Dude, you caught one.
Nice. Yeah. This is going to replace the #1 piston and rod setup. I'm going to throw it in the parts washer, hopefully get it as clean as these guys, and see what it looks like in a couple of minutes. First, I'm going to pull the rings off, though, because these things are not serious. I like that we're doing like a basically $0 episode. Feels good. It's my favorite. Coming off the Buy Your Dad a Camaro episode. This one's gonna feel good in the bank accounts.
It's also
No paperwork for Barb. That's true. Email yourself, say you did a good job.
I will do that.
Forward me on that. Here we go. Right in the parts washer. A little bath time. Give it a hot soak. All right, so our main new part we're putting in this time is a set of Summit Racing gas-ported piston rings. I went on the Total Seal website and looked at the specs for medium boosts, 15 to 30 pounds. We're going to open them up a little bit more than they were last time. I'm going to run 7 thou per inch of bore. This is a 4-inch bore, just like a Chevy 350. So we're going to wind up with I'm going to do that on the top ring and the second ring because I like to party, keep it a little bit looser than last time. So we'll just be 28 thou on both of them. So this is my ring grinder I've got going on here. And more or less, I will run this thing and start to dial it in. I'll take a little bit off at a time, set it in the bore with a piston about an inch down and measure it. When I got the gap right at 28 thou, I know that one's done. I can move on to the next bore in the engine, do one cylinder at a time, and whatever you dial it in, whatever you measure it and grind it to, that thing is now married to that cylinder, so keep them all in line. Here we go. All right, it's getting close to 2 o'clock in the morning. We had plans on getting the short block assembled at least. Well, originally it was like, let's build a whole motor by the end of the night, and then we started bringing those goals down. Short block, still not gonna make it. Everything's clean and basically ready to assemble. That's where we're gonna stop. I've got all the rings file fit. Barb's got all the pistons, including our one loaner from the other block, nice and clean. We're gonna come in the morning. We are gonna hose out, clean out the engine block, get as many of those piston pieces out of that thing as we can, and to start assembling our 4.3. Very excited, but it's time to go to sleep. We'll see you in a minute. It is morning again. If you notice, I had an accident with my razor, wound up shaving my whole face off. Could happen to anybody. While we were messing around with this week's video, Barb's doing the thumbnails. We do basically everything around here, which is awesome. We got a nice small team. Everybody wears 9 hats. I just, out of curiosity, pulled off a main bearing cap. And does it look great? No. Does it look usable? Let's say yes. I can't feel. The real, the litmus test is, can you feel these grooves with your fingernail? I'm going to pretend I can't. So good enough. I don't see a lot of contaminants in the oil. Barb's going to start cleaning this block up. We're going to leave the crank in, roll the dice, and send it. I am going to start over here. From last night, I've got my rings all gapped up, and I'm going to start assembling the rings on the pistons. We're going to meet in the middle and slap this sucker back together. All right, let's do it.
Let's go.
Let's go. Here we go. 4.3 turbo build.
Cue the music.
Take 5 or something. All right, it's time to assemble our Junkyard Turbo 4.3. It is basically a stock motor outside of that big camshaft, some rockers, and these proper steel piston rings. But it's going to eat 20 pounds of boost this time, happily. I just know it. Barb's cleaned the block. I've got a sweet 4-inch ring compressor set up from Summit, so it's just for this board. Makes it really easy. I like to put it so that whatever side I'm working on is, flat. I've got it facing all the way up, so I can just kind of drop it down and work with gravity. The piston rings all need to be in a very specific orientation, if you don't know that. So make sure you're happy. This piston has a groove that goes forward, but Now there's a million different ways to check. Make sure things a little different. I'm gonna watch this come down, make sure that nothing wonky happens. Give it a couple of taps. And the most important thing now is lining up the crank and the end of the rod. Making sure I don't smash anything on here. All right, so I tried to install the #1 piston in the #1 cylinder, except that it's not the #1 piston. It's from the passenger side of that, spares block. And come to find out, look, there's a lot of things you got to take into account when you're putting a motor together, where the valve reliefs are. So, do pistons face this way or this way? Is there an offset on the journal where the big end of the rod is? Make sure that you get the tangs in the right spot. The caps are all lined up. There's like 5 different things you got lined up. And since we grabbed a piston and rod combo, and these are pressed together and they're a nightmare to pull apart, from the passenger side, when they are lined up forward, and again, this is a bigger intake valve relief and a smaller exhaust valve relief. When they're lined up like that, you can see these are all quote unquote forward. The odd ones, the even ones all go this way, but with this quote unquote forward, the offset is opposite. So right now we're trying to put a round peg in a square hole. It's not gonna work. I'm gonna knock this piston up and out, and since we have a high lift cam, I think it's important to get the valve reliefs in the right spot. We're just gonna go grab a different piston and rod combo from that spare motor from the 135 side, and we should be in business. And then we'll try this all again.
That was a mouthful.
Yeah, I just gotta knock the rings on it. It's gonna be fine. Okay. All right, I went and grabbed the other side piston and loaded it in. We're gonna just keep on rocking here. I have plenty of assembly lube on this thing. You want to just torque them one at a time?
Yeah.
Cool, all right, 1 out of 6 pistons is nestled in its home. I'm gonna torque it down and move on to the next one. You've seen this 65 times on this channel, specifically with this motor. So it is, rock and roll time-lapse time. All right, all 6 pistons and rods went in. This sucker moves free and clear now. Glad we did the rings. They're probably pretty frazzled, so I feel like we've got good ring tension on them now. Very dialed. I'm gonna stick the cam back in this thing, put the timing set back on, and we'll talk about putting the heads back on and keep on rocking down the road. Barb's gonna be cleaning stuff. What are you cleaning? Oil pan. So we can keep assembling this stuff. And intake.
Keep all that
It
fragments
has a lot of pistons in it, or piston.
Piston pieces is.
All right, I've got the lifters in. I've got the lifter tray holder cleaned up. And I'm gonna go ahead and start putting the timing set on. This is what they call a balanced shaft engine. V6s are not balanced. That's why it's got these split crank journals and it's super wonky to make it not shake itself to death. And one of the things they do is put a balanced shaft in it. We're just gonna leave it alone. So you can remove it if you want your engine to shake even worse. But it's just one extra step for us. So you slide in this gear that's connected to the camshaft, and if you can look here, you just line those 2 dots up. It's a very simple procedure. One off there. That's the guy. Okay, so it's a dot, dot, and then you got your dot off the crank, which is like normal. And then when you come in here and drop on your big cam gear, you can see this dot. It's that dot. So if you got dot, 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 that's good. It's like Morse code for good. All right, we are in business.
You got the retainer plate on?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, dope.
Don't fall. Excuse me. All right. A little Loctite, she'll be all right. A little Loctite, she'll survive the night. A little Loctite. future is bright.
I was just gonna say.
A little Loctite. It'll.
Tighten them with all your might.
Yeah.
Maybe don't.
Don't do that. That's not. You don't have to. That's the point. Well, without Loctite, you'll get a fright. What am I doing here? What's happening? Put this. Go back where you're supposed to be. That's right. Fun fact. If you put this in and then you stab your distributor in and assume that you're on the compression stroke at TDC, you're not. You're 180 out.
Oh, yeah.
It's just a thing you learn over time. So what you want to do is you want to put your distributor in and look like a genius and line the rotor right up to number 1 and get it to fire off. Spin it again so this is back up and this dot is back up, and then you're good to go. Yep, that's a little more there. Yep, that'll do 8,000 RPM for sure. Yep, crushed it. All right, so since Chevrolet saw fit to use a 1/4-inch crank bolt, don't you dare try to spin your engine over with it, especially when it has spark plugs and compression. So get yourself one of these little special sockets, slides over the crank, grabs the Woodruff key, and then you can spin it all you want. And right there, that's the business. Up, up, compression. Ready to fire.
So while Tony is buttoning up the timing assembly on the 4.3 on the stand over there, I'm hopping on our new to us Craftsman Atlas lathe we got from the dude over at Make Stuff Nation. He actually refurbished this entire thing on his channel. It's in awesome condition. I'll leave a link up above if you guys want to check out his channel. He's doing some pretty sweet stuff with some old machinery. But what I'm doing is machining down the lock nuts for the rockers because we noticed one of the rocker arms fell off and it was sitting in the cylinder head when we took the valve cover off. It's really not engaging the stud enough, so I'm just going to machine 80,000s off the bottom so that it'll allow the nut to sit farther down on the stud and catch the lock. So I already got the setup done. I already did 2 of them. I'm just gonna keep ripping on this. See what this lathe is all about.
Cool. I'm going to put a brand new timing cover gasket on this thing. It comes in this tube. And you just squeeze it on. Look at that.
Universal?
Yes, this is like a universal piece. I don't know what the part number is. It's 001 RTV.
Tight.
You don't want your gasket looking all old and gray. Look how cool it looks. Jet black. Put some of this in my hair.
They make new hair?
No, you're out of luck. But I was gonna say if I didn't cut my beard today, I would absolutely grease it up. Because I'm a giver. I'm here for fun, having a good time. Friday night in the shop. Let's go. Don't blow up.
Do you need me to turn around for this one? Yeah.
What we're doing here, honestly, we've spent a total of $185 probably, including the silicone and the new oil filter. This thing's gonna scream.
What new oil filter?
The one you're gonna buy tomorrow. This thing's gonna be an animal. All right, front cover's on, cam is all sealed up, that thing's happy. We're now gonna enter the time-honored tradition of writing something stupid on the tops of these pistons, so that if it explodes, when we take the heads off next time, we'll laugh about it. It's a little different this time though, because there's only 6 cylinders. If there's 8, you have a little more leeway to play with. You can do Born to Run, if you want to quote America's greatest living author, Bruce Springsteen. You can do BORN, the number 2, and then run. That's a nice one. Simple, classic. You can be like, let's go with a bunch of O's. I don't know, whatever you think. Don't explode. I'm trying to figure out a 6. Don't overthink it too. You could just draw parts of the human anatomy. I'm gonna go with please work. Ready? Let's go with P, L, Z, please. Over here I'm gonna write.
What kind of Z is that?
That's an English Z. Please boost. Please run. Please run. Please run. Here we go. We got it. Please. Have to clean that off later. Please run. Perfect. Please run. That's good. All right, I'm gonna now wipe this down. It's a little acetone. Lay the used head gaskets back on here and tighten them up real hard. Okay, everybody say it with me. That's good enough. All right. Water heavy. All right, here we go. Cylinder head tied. Good luck. Yeah, you want to give me a bolt there, champ?
Right there.
Head number 2, here we go. Nice. All right, she's happy. All right, now we're going to put our head studs back in this thing. Since it's basically built the same as a small block Chevy, we're going to use pipe dope on more or less every bolt, every head stud, and then we will torque these suckers down and catch up with you in a moment.
Assembly lube, check. We're gonna put the push rods in, start putting rockers in, and then see if these modified nuts work out on the things, on the studs.
Yeah.
What do you think?
You said a lot of dirty words, man. I don't know. So you hit that with a little assembly lube on both tips, and then I'll do it on the top of the valve too. I'll just run a little bead across here for when the rockers actually touch those suckers, the top of the valve stem itself.
This stuff is the best. All right, so these rockers have a fulcrum in the bottom. It's rounded here, and it's rounded on the inside of the rocker. You make sure they go that way. And then the nuts have a taper that goes up with the lock nut, and then the bottom side is flat. That sits against the fulcrum.
Yeah, and they just basically, you adjust it. It's how you're gonna adjust your lifter preload in a hydraulic setup.
Yeah, what he said. Put lube on the first two. We're almost out of lube here. Big bottle of lube.
All right, so I'm about to set up our valve train. You know, this is basically a stock motor outside of those Summit Racing Total Seal steel rings, and the high lift comp cams, camshaft, the comp cams, rockers, valve springs, and push rod plates. So, you know, start with a $200 Junkyard motor, add those few parts, and you can have something that makes double the stock horsepower, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna go through the pretty standard hydraulic lifter setup procedure. We do EOIC. When the exhaust is opening, you can adjust the intake valve. When the intake valve goes all the way to the top of the lobe and starts to close, and you can do the exhaust on that cylinder. There's other ways to do it, but that one is like, you don't have to think too much. You just keep spinning it around and you'll be in business. And Barb's little machine trick here looks like it's gonna be just fine. Since we know we're on top dead center combustion stroke of the number 1, I'm able to set this one, and I can just tell you right now, where they didn't get into the lock before, here's what I do. I just check the drag on this thing. I'm easily spinning the push rod, feeling it, feel the flow. It just got started to drag on it, and then I'll just do quarter turn. And you can see it's in the lock now, which it wasn't before. So that's awesome. Good job, Barb. So now I'll have Barb spin the motor around, and I will do all 6 cylinders and check back in with you in a second. right, it's time to install our Edelbrock 4-barrel manifold for the intake here. I'm just wiping off these sweet reusable gaskets that I believe are from the parts store. Bone Stockers. Boom. Vortex specials. And then I'm going to come in here and glob up this China wall. Make sure you're in the light entirely. That's what you want to be. That's good. And I'm going to run into this fitting here. Take a little break. Try to get it under the corner. There you go. Does that thing have a zoom, or do you want to actually put that microphone in my mouth?
Zoomed in all the way.
That cannot be true.
I can extend the microphone more.
This is Vortex style, so these bolts go straight down. All right, we're going to torque these suckers down. We're going to put on the turbo system and the oil pan and toss it up in the car. Very excited. It is just past midnight on Friday night. If I'm being honest, we are jamming like this so that we'll have something to put out next week when I'm out on drag week with my Finnegan. So we are burning the midnight oil. Here we go. All right, so now we have assembled one nasty little junkyard chipmunk motor. That's what we call the V6s, because it's like rat, big block, small block, mouse, chipmunk. I am putting on the 4.3 S10 mounts that we got from Jags That Run. And then we're going to toss on our Amazon turbo kit that is still holding strong. A year and a half later. Works good. Turbo feels amazing. I was worried that some of that piston might have gone through the exhaust. I looked in there at the turbine wheel. It looks fine. So we're going to send it. Kind of like the theme of this episode. Much like our truck is a cheap knockoff of a SikeClone, we've got our Amazon turbo kit on here, which is 100% just a cheap knockoff of the original SikeClone turbo kit. Manifolds went forward, little crossover pipe, sat just like this. At some point, somebody decided to put an external wastegate adapter spacer in here, but originally the turbo would have been right here with an internal wastegate on it, but it's the same exact thing. It was $634 delivered, and it has not let us down yet. It's time to put this thing back in the SikeClone, and then we're going to get out of here and pass out. Let's do it. All right, it's time to install our mostly pile of junkyard and knockoff parts into this big rolling pile of mostly junkyard parts, and then go wicked fast. So it doesn't really get any better than that. Here we go. SikeClone goes fast.
There's a few nice things in here.
Take 5.
Yeah, pull that stand away. Thank you.
There it is. Feeling good.
It's not on. Oh, it is on.
It is on.
Ha
Keep it rolling. All right, it is the end of a long night, but the SikeClone has a probably good engine in it for the first time in many, many months. I'm super pumped. I love this project. It's actually one of the first things that we completely built here on Stay Tuned. We're starting back out here full time, and it's a special one. Super excited to see it finally achieve its full potential. But it's time to hit the sack right now and come back and get after it on another day. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. Here we go. This is the one. This is the one. Spin, spin, spin. Boom, boom, boom. Very good. Awesome. Let's go.
All right, we're back in the shop today after a couple of crazy long nights last week trying to button this motor up and get it dumped in the old CikeClone back here. Tony's actually at Drag Week right now with Mike Finnegan trying to take home A-Gas again. Go watch him on the live stream. I've got it rolling right now and seeing if these guys can take it home again. But anyways, back on the CikeClone, I'm going to start buttoning up fuel lines, exhaust system, all the throttle linkage for the carburetor, all the turbo system, cooling system, blah, blah, blah. The list goes on. Let's get all that stuff buttoned up, and then hopefully we can get this thing fired up pretty soon and take it out on the streets. Hopefully. All right, cool. So we are back in the shop again today. Tony and Finn are still on Struggle Street at Drag Week. I brought in some reinforcements, brought my dad in today. Say hello to the people.
The old man can still do it a little bit anyway.
So yesterday I buttoned up, like I mentioned, a ton of stuff under the hood here. Today we came in, just did a little, converter bolts, starter, spark plugs, just a couple of little things here and there. What we found is the pushrod guide from the small block Chevy, the two slots, since the pushrods are slightly offset in the V6 compared to a small block Chevy, it was actually canting the pushrod off to the side just enough that the rocker was coming off of the tip of the valve. So when we pulled the valve cover off for the first time, we found the number 5 rocker arm sitting in the cylinder head. We're going to pull off one of the pushrod guides, and I'm just going to put a little bit of weld on the inside edge and file it to take maybe 15 or 20 thousandths out of that slot in there. And that's going to allow us to center up the pushrods, and hopefully we won't lose any more rocker arms.
I guess when you have 6 cylinders, you really can't lose one, right?
You can't really lose one. Yeah, that's that's diminishing returns there. So yeah. Let's go. Okay, so as you can see on this one, the rocker on this side is very loose, and that's because when we installed these pushrod guide plates, the slot for this was not allowing the pushrod to be centered with the tip of the rocker arm. So what we did was we slightly grinded the outside edge over here of where the pushrod goes in. The problem with that is when it's centered here, there's a big gap here. So this rocks all over the place. So in conjunction with the nuts not engaging the locks and this being loose, this rocker arm went flying into space inside the valve cover. What we're gonna do is we're gonna take the pushrod guide plate off, and I'm gonna run a bead of weld with the TIG welder on the inside, and then we're going to file fit it so that the pushrod stays nice and snug in there, and then put it back together. Okay, cool. So that worked out perfectly. We put a little bit of weld on the inside, as you saw, and now the push rod does not rock back and forth in the guide plate, which is awesome. Centered the rocker over the valve. We are good to go. We are going to set this thing at top dead center and pre-lube it, and then stab the distributor in and get ready to fire this thing up.
All right, well, we'd like to make sure that this has a little oil on all the surfaces before we start it. So we're going to prime it. And there's a nice little gizmo that fits into the oil pump. Unfortunately, we don't have a nice little extension that fits perfectly on there, so we put a little piece of rubber hose on. And I think we can turn it enough to get some oil pressure. Maybe not. Okay. Well, we'll try that again. Maybe not.
Let's try again.
All right, so we're going to have another go at this priming thing. We've got a little better arrangement between our drill and our primer stick. And we're spinning the pump nicely now.
All right, so we primed the oil pump on this thing. We're getting oil out of all of the push rods, which is awesome. It took probably, what, 5, 6, 8 minutes or so? A while.
8 minutes or more before we got up the push rods, yeah.
Yep. So,
Patience.
yeah. And the internet, the forums.
There you go.
We looked it up, and people are like, oh, it could take 10 to 15 minutes, which I've never seen before. But anyways, so we're going to stab the distributor in now. We've got the motor at top dead center.
Timing mark is on 0.
Timing mark is on 0. It's actually 5 degrees, remember?
We know where our number 1 wire was, which is pointing right here on the cap.
Yep.
We have the rotor aligned with number 1. Now we got to get this thing to stab in there and mate up with the gear and the oil pump. With the rotor removed, we're able to feed the distributor down between the carburetor and the firewall, which is nice. We don't have to take the carburetor off. And at this point, we're going to put the rotor back on because we want to point it to where we've marked number 1 wire on your distributor cap.
Where is that?
It should be over by you.
Okay, so we didn't do it.
You see it over there?
Well, this is where it's supposed to go, and it's all the way over here. So we're off a little bit.
Okay, well, that's fine. Tighten these down. And
can you get it up
then
high enough?
We'll pop it up again, and we'll rearrange it on your oil pump gear until the rotor's pointing in the correct direction. All right, try not to engage the oil pump if you can help it.
Yep. All right, square is towards the back. Good? Okay.
It's perfect.
That's the one.
It's perfect.
What did I tell you?
It's perfect. Good job.
All right.
All right.
You mean the screws? I'm gonna put the screws to this thing. All right, so me and the old man are jamming pretty hard here. We just pre-lubed everything. We're gonna set the timing shortly. We fixed the push rod guide. That was a big win. Double check the vacuum hoses. That's done. So we just have to check the fan switch here, set the timing, and we are ready to fire it up.
Oh yeah.
Let's go. It's time to fire this thing up. We got all the plug wires on. We've got everything hooked up. There's fluids in it. I don't know what else there is.
There's even oil in it.
We can't forget oil.
Okay.
And we primed it, and it came out of all the push rods.
You got
so
it.
we didn't mess up.
Fire it up.
I'm gonna hop in there and fire it up. Let's go.
One can hope.
What did I say? Okay,
Let's try that again.
take 2. Battery power, maybe. Let's go. All right, battery charger on. Take 35, here we go. All right, here we go. Take 537. Try this again. Take 1,000. Here we go. We fixed up a couple of timing issues here that we noticed. Let's try firing it up, huh? Here we go. SikeClone, fire it up. Try 38 billion. Let's go. Ready?
Yeah.
Give me a little bump.
Yep. Go ahead.
Let's go!
All right. Good. All right. Let me have it.
Sick. 10?
It's on 10 degrees.
Okay. Hell yeah. Ooh, that sounds good.
I love it.
Woo! Let me just check the water
You
temp.
want to shut it down?
Yeah. Woo!
All right.
All right. SikeClone fired up, baby.
All right.
We're gonna make a couple of little tweaks here and there and then hit the streets in this thing. Let's go. We are back in the Stay Tuned shop today. I got my old man back with me again. We are gonna take this thing out, break it in a little bit, and see what it can do. Let's hit the road. All right, we are out in the SikeClone. So we are just gonna drive this thing around for a little bit, watch the water temperature, oil pressure, kind of break it in a little bit. We have moved the boost controller out of the boost circuit, and we are just running this on wastegate pressure right now, just to break it in, make sure everything works well. Get these rings seated a little bit. Sounds awesome.
Pulls awesome.
Runs awesome. That's like 4% throttle. Makes good noises, huh?
Yeah, and lots of them.
Lots of them. Man, I forgot how much I love this truck. This thing is a ripper. Oh yeah. Man, those sounds. Woo! I smell hot smells.
Yep. Let's
A little bit.
Shut it down.
So we were in the streets driving this thing, and there was quite a bit of smoke coming from the driver's side up front here, right where the catch can is, and we got these rings pretty big. So I just assumed it was some blow-by. We came back to take a break for a minute, and the smoke didn't stop coming out after we shut it off. So we noticed that this brake actually is sticking, it looks like, and there was quite a bit of heat coming off of it. Yeah, this is a warm wheel. Okay. So I don't know what's going on here because it looks like there's plenty of gap between the pad and the thing, but we're going to let this atomically hot. Oh, no, it's not. It's wedged up there. I wonder if the sliders just need. This is going to take 45 years to cool off, probably. You know what we should do? We should get pizza.
I think that's the best idea.
I'm going to order pizza. All right, we'll revisit this in a few minutes.
I like it.
All right, so we obviously had to get some pizza. But if you notice, there's a piece missing. And I ran to the parts store.
What can I say? But
Guy,
you know what?
I was hungry.
All this business about the best pizza is from the New York metropolitan area. I got to tell you, Pennsylvania pizza ain't so bad.
Yeah,
it's
look at
really
that.
not.
Limerick Italian Kitchen, hooking it up with the sausage and broccoli rabe.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
We're gonna dig in. Okay, so upon taking this apart, we noticed that the seal has actually blown past the piston in the caliper, and I believe that the piston is probably seized in there because it really doesn't want to move. So I just ran to the parts store and picked up new caliper, new pads, and we're going to put this thing in real quick and then hit the streets again. All right, so we got this thing all buttoned up here. Looking good, got the lines connected, bled the brakes. We are going to take this thing back out again, hit the streets, and see if maybe we can go a little bit faster, because this was definitely holding things up. Wouldn't you say?
It was dragging, man.
Yeah.
It was dragging and smoking.
Let's go. So we're going to drive it a little bit more and... Oh yeah, this thing makes some good noises. Woo!
Yeah, it's a ripper.
Oh yeah. Hey Tony, I'm sorry you're in drag week, but I'm not that sorry. This is pretty fun. 75 pounds of oil pressure. That feels good.
That's a beautiful thing.
Oh, this thing is a riot.
It is.
Oh god.
Oh man, this thing's amazing.
That's at 8 pounds. The last time when we exploded it was at 18.
Yeah, well, I don't think you need 18, but...
So we're gonna keep driving this thing around a little bit, put some miles on it, maybe turn the boost up a little bit next time we drive this, but next time you see this thing, we got quite a surprise for you. We've got a little race lined up that I think you guys are gonna enjoy. It's gonna be a little bit more of that, a lot more of that.
Oh yeah.
Wow, I can't believe how awesome that went. This truck is faster than ever. Barb went 0 to 60 in
4 point something.
seconds. And that is just unbelievable for a truck we threw together for, you know, 10 or 15,000 bucks. It's an absolute animal. Thanks for watching. And that's it for this episode of Stay Tuned. I'm currently on drag week and I shot this already. I'll see you next time. Peace. Man, Barb took the truck out and it didn't do exactly what we thought it was gonna do. I think there's still some potential in it. We're gonna get back into this sucker, get it dialed in, and decide if we can make this 4.3 really work once and for all. All right, so Barb took the truck out and it went horribly. It blew up, it knocked a couple of pedestrians down. There were parts flying everywhere. The police came. Barb's in prison now, and we're all going to jail for wanton neglect. It's a bummer, but it happens. He hit a rock. The thing spun out, he wound up in a ditch, then he dug a hole, and he started to live with a family of beavers, and now he's the Beaver King. Incredible. I always knew he had it in him. Way to go, Barb. That's it for this episode of Stay Tuned. Peace from Jag Week. See you next time.